G'day everybody and welcome to our first podcast here this morning for the Hooking for Health program. And as we get things underway, I have Jess Fatnowna with me here. And Jess, if you'd like to do the acknowledgement to country on our behalf for us.
Before we start talking, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we are on today talking together, and I pay our respects to the past, present and emerging.
Thanks, Jess. Fantastic job. And I also have Wes Ferns here with me this morning, who is the program coordinator for the Aspire program, and Jess Fatnowna, who you've already heard from, is one of the mentors involved with the program as well, and both doing fantastic jobs. Now, Wes, you've been really heavily involved with the production of the Hook In for Health My Hockey Journal. So can you tell us a little bit what was behind the process of putting this all together?
Thanks, David. So the main reasons why we decided to make this journal was help create new partnerships and new platforms through education, wellbeing and leadership roles, not just to help grow hockey, but help support positive social outcomes that empower young Indigenous, young women, girls, family, friends and communities to collaborate and be better, not just on the hockey field, but also off the hockey field.
Fantastic stuff, Wes. And I know, Jess, you've been involved with it heavily as well. So, guys, how do you use it?
So we break it down into 4 basic areas through our Live Well, Learn Well, Lead Well and Hockey Pacific programs. So each area covers a different topic.
So Wes, the Live Well, Learn Well and Lead Well programs are a very intricate part of the Hooking for Health My Journal. So how do you use the titles?
So each section we talk about a new topic. Our Live Well section we talk about our nutrition and talk about the importance of our body, how to maintain our body through sports. So what nutrition we need before a hockey game, after a game. And also one of the main areas is getting health checks as well. I think it's important for young children to identify if they need to look after their body, to go and get health checks with a local GP or health department. Our Learn Well section is mainly all about education and the importance of schooling. So the importance of attending school, behaving at school, okay, and from learning is creating new pathways from school to later in their career, through work, through TAFE, or through higher education.
It's working, Wes? It's going well?
I think so. I think the Live Well is working very well, especially through our new program. A lot of kids are now identifying if they want to play hockey. Okay, they can't come along just eat junk food, hot chips and soft drinks for a game and after a game. It's very important for them to learn that, okay, if I want to play hockey hard for 60 minutes, identify what needs to go into my body before a game to help maintain that energy and requirements afterwards as well, refueling our body and making sure we're ready to go again.
Now, Jess, you've been involved heavily with this out in the schools, and I know that you've been working with it at Cairns West State School and a number of other schools. How is the journal, or how would you ask people to use the journal within a school environment?
So we will set aside like 10 minutes using the journal, and that goes through the school. So the school will give us a schedule on when we can use the journal, and then we'll get together. We'll basically go through what the journal is about, and then we hit from the first page, and then that's how we use it.
Okay, fantastic. So, Jess, one of the things that is going to be important when putting together and using the Hook In for Health Hockey Journal will be where it's done. I mean, obviously there's things to be taken into consideration. So what would you see is important in setting up an environment that makes it really good to use this journal?
It would be really important to make sure the participants are comfortable. So maybe send through a text through an app that you're using, or send out an email to the participants and get feedback on where they feel comfortable doing the journal, and also obviously in a safe environment. So
what advice would you give as far as a safe, comfortable environment meaning?
I'd say in an area that's not so closed off. I'd say open area would be more comfortable. That way everyone can see you. Yeah.
Okay. And obviously then one of the other things that I no doubt would be important to make sure that you have as much resources as you think you're going to need. So if you're going to need a whiteboard, have a whiteboard. And a whiteboard isn't much good unless you've got whiteboard markers and all that sort of stuff. And if you're in a room, has it got windows that can open so that you get a nice breeze through? And even better if we can say sit down and in say an air-conditioned environment. Have you had any examples where that's maybe gone a little bit pear-shaped on you and you've had to cut short a program because things haven't been as good as they need to be?
Yeah, mine would be in a school. I would have a little area that I'm in with the kids, and say another student comes by and interrupts our session, so we have to cut it short, or other stuff's going on around us.
Okay, so resources, I suppose, Wes and Jess, we're talking about a comfortable, safe environment where the people that are involved feel safe and ready to learn and participate. If we can, comfort as far as air conditioning is concerned, and if not, definitely an open window type environment. Away from any distractions by the sound of it, Jess. We don't want people running through and distracting the course as it's going. Jess, as far as presenting this is concerned, and you've mentioned that people learn at different rates. So as far as the timing is concerned, I mean, is 15 minutes 1 page, 2 pages? Is it 12 pages? What's your experience?
My experience would be depending on how fast the participant is at reading and writing. Some people will take a lot slower. That way they can understand what the question is and make sure they're writing down to answer it.
Okay, so a little bit of empathy with the people that are involved. So
Yes.
we've mentioned about resources, so we've talked about the journal being ready and everyone having a copy, a safe and comfortable environment that's going to be really, really important to us. And then it's not a race, is it, Jess?
No.
All right, so everyone has to be taken into account, and when you get through one page and everyone's done it, you'll start your review process, you'll get your feedback, and then you'll move on to your next page. I think it's also important that when presenting this, Jess, would you say that just keep an eye on the group, and if they're getting tired or whatever the case may be, you know what, enough's enough, yeah?
Yeah. Make sure they're feeling comfortable, they're not really drowning in the pages, and also take little breaks if you have to.
Okay, and we mentioned the other resources, people, when you're putting this together. So if you're going to be getting feedback, you might need a whiteboard. And if you're going to have a whiteboard, some whiteboard markers, and then something to clean the whiteboard with, some sort of duster or whatever the case may be. If you don't have a whiteboard available and you're using a blackboard, well, hey, chalk's good, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with having some chalk there, and then obviously a duster. And if none of those are available, if you're actually presenting this course outside, then maybe some butcher's paper and some Nico pens or something, Jess. Do you think that would be a good idea? So both of you have been using the journal in schools. Are there any tips that you'd be handing out to the people that are about to pick up this journal and use it in our remote areas of the world?
My main tips for new people taking this along is be able to adapt and modify this program to suit your situation. Now, we have different programs running throughout the country, from the Torres Strait Islands, Cape York, Gulf Savannah, and around the Cairns region. So every program in those areas is different to each community's needs. So being able to adapt each program to suit you is, I think, vital. For instance, I've got a program running at the moment at a local Cairns school. Now, unfortunately, I only have an hour with these students every week, and these students from all different classes, so there's no one specific teacher I can actually go through and help go through the journal with. So actually I do the journal in Hockey Pacific myself. So for an hour session, I do 20 minutes of the journal where I cover a certain subject and topic that we cover for 20 minutes. Then for 40 minutes, we do Hockey Pacific. So I don't actually have a teacher or a partner that can help me with journal. So I actually run that myself. And for me, I pick a different subject, I think, which will be suitable for my students that I'm teaching at the moment. For example, I'm teaching grade 5 students, and these students will be the grade 6 leaders and seniors next year. So I'm doing a lot of work on leadership and role models. So for next year, they're going to be house captain, a leader in their group. Okay, they've got the skills ready to acquire that. So unfortunately, I don't have a partner there. But for instance, in Gulf Savannah, we have a school that runs out there. We have a partner that can run the whole journal and manual themselves. So I basically go out there to start with, upskill the teacher, identify how we run it, how it works, and pretty much they run the program themselves. So as I said, each program community is different and be able to adapt to each centre.
Now, Jess, you're also involved fairly heavily with the mentoring side out at Cairns West State School, and you've been out there now for a number of years, and you've been using the journal. little bit of a different environment to what Wes is doing up in the Gulf or whatever the case may be. So can you just give us a bit of a brief as to how it's different for you?
I use the journal before I hit the coaching manual. I talked to a teacher at Cairns West State School, and they give me a scheduled time of when I can take the kids out of the class to make sure we sit down and study the journal. And then after school, that's when I start using the coaching manual.
So it doesn't necessarily run from one to the other. You might have a mentoring session with your participants at 9:30 in the morning.
Yep.
But you know what? You're not really out on the field doing any hockey until maybe lunchtime or after school. Okay, so it's nice to know that we can be adaptable. I think it's important to understand as presenters that the My Hockey Journal is a separate document, and the coaching manual is a separate document. But gee, they intertwine a lot, don't they, Jess?
Yes. So they bounce off each other. You can use one or the other. Completely up to you on what you want to do with your session.
Fantastic. Just to help the people out that are going to be using this journal, do you let the kids take the journal home? Do you make it look like it might be homework, or do you keep it in class so that you know you've got a guarantee that the journal's actually going to be there next time you talk to the kids?
Yeah, we actually make a rule up. You got to leave it at school. You can't take it until you complete it. I think that's a better way to make sure everything's put together and they don't forget it at home.
So Wes just mentioned at one stage that she doesn't let these journals go home because there's no guarantee that they're going to come back. So what's your philosophy regarding that?
Yeah, support that 100%. We always make sure, these journals never go home. One good way we like to keep these safe is you can possibly give these back to the coordinator or myself after every lesson, so we know it. I've got them. I can bring it straight to the next lesson. And there was always time throughout the day in the lesson where the kids can always add on anything they forgot.
And no doubt about the fact, both of you, the feedback from the coordinator and you guys that are out there presenting this sort of document, it's got to be positive, yes?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so how do you give them the feedback?
I think the feedback speaks for itself, especially the participants' behaviour, attendance. There's different ways we can judge feedback from this.
Fantastic, Wes. And Jess, you've got a little bit of a tip there?
Yes, there's no right or wrong feedback. Every feedback is accepted and understanding. Yeah,
so as a presenter of the document, what you're really looking at doing is just getting everyone that's involved as much as they can and getting the feedback in a positive sense. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
You guys are absolutely brilliant. Fantastic advice, everybody. And look, everyone involved out there, please be aware of the fact that this Hooking for Health program has been put together for not just people who know what they're talking about as far as hockey is concerned, or for that matter come from an education background, but it's been put together for development officers, mentors, teachers, volunteers and participants. And we're really, really excited about the product. It's about to hit the press. So when you get hold of it, as Jess said, make sure that you read the document, have a good look at it. If you've got any questions at all, don't be scared to come back and ask anyone involved with the Aspire program. We're really excited about the launch of this program. It's a very, very readable document, and we hope you're going to be excited about it as well. In saying that, we'd also like to be very, very grateful for the people involved in setting up the program in the Aspire program here in Cairns. Hockey Vanuatu, the Team Up people have been fantastic. Family Planning Australia, Oceania Hockey, who have been unbelievable in their input with this. Hockey Australia have backed us as well. Flinders University, and as I said, the Aspire to Bedley program. I'd like to thank very, very much this morning Wes Ferns for his input into the podcast. Jess Fatnowna, your input was invaluable, and Director Steph Bonnell, your assistance has also been appreciated. We hope you enjoy the podcast. Any questions, please don't hesitate to come back to us. Enjoy the rest of your day.